Hello everyone, CEO Sims here, and today I'm going to be showing you how I make my renders for The Sims 4. I received an ask on my Tumblr inquiring about if I could make a tutorial showing how I do my renders. So let's get started. As you can see, I have The Sims 4 Ripper open here. I'm going to leave a link in the description below where you guys can download this program. And so once you have this program open, the first thing that you want to do is just go here and find your save files, wherever you save your files at. Usually they should be routed similar to this. And I'm just going to click on my save file. Once you've clicked on your save file, you see here that it'll load up all of the Sims under that save file. I like to just name my Sims, specifically my model Sims, just kind of like this by numbers. That way it's easier for me to pick the Sims that I'm looking for and find the ones that I want. You want to click the Sim that you want to render, and it's going to take a little bit to load, so don't freak out or anything if it freezes. Mine freezes all the time. Just let it do its thing, and eventually it will load and your Sim will be there. I also want to mention that some errors that you might encounter with this program, it might not be able to read all of your CC, and that's an issue I had when I initially downloaded this. So there's certain CC that might not work, and if you get an error, it's probably due to like a mod or a piece of CC that the program can't read properly. Also, if you use height sliders and things like that, you want to make sure to take those out because they will not work in Blender. So now that our program has loaded, you can see that we have our Sim here. You can turn her around and move her and things like that. We are going to export our Sim. So what you're going to do is click here for the clean DAE mesh. And then you're going to click Save as DAE. And then it's going to load. It might take a little bit again, and it's going to give you a prompt of what you want to name the file as and where you want to save it. So I'm just going to save mine under my downloads. I just kind of leave it like this, and I'm just going to hit save. You can also toggle through the different outfits. But depending on how much CC your character has, it might take a little bit to load up everything. So once we've got our Sim file saved, we're going to go and open up Blender. Now I am using Blender 2.8, so I'm just gonna get rid of this cube here. And as you can see, we've just got this nice little open space. The first thing that we're going to do is you're going to move your cursor up to the top corner here and drag it over so that you have two windows. Let's open up our Sim, and wherever you saved it at, I saved mine under my downloads, so I'm just gonna import it, and you're gonna see here that we have our Sim in this window, and she's also over here. So again, in this window, we're going to click this tab here, this editor type, and we're going to toggle this to shader editor. So as you can see, it's blank right now. So what we want to do is we want to go over here on this right corner at the top and click the rig and tap on this little down bar. And then we're going to click model 5 or whatever you have your Sim named as. You just want to click the first one. And then we're going to go to this column down here, and under material properties you want to click on that and hit new, and now we have these two boxes over here. So the first thing that we're going to do is, obviously we can't see our Sim or what she's wearing, what she looks like, so we want to change that. So we're gonna go up here to add texture, image texture, and we're going to put another one of these down as well. So make sure that you have two image textures down. And now we're going to take the first color on our first image texture and attach this to the base color of this principled, I don't know what you want to call this, but Yeah. We'll just call it like a column or something. So attach it to the principled, and then the bottom one is going to attach from the color to specular. And once we have those two attached, we're going to open our first one. Go to wherever you saved your original file at. Mine's is under downloads, so I'm going to click on downloads, and we're going to go here. And you want to open this diffuse file in the first image texture. And so we're going to open that. And then we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to open specular. So now if we toggle this viewport shading here at the top right, you can see that we can now see what our sim looks like. But we don't want her to look like this. She's got, you know, very weird textured hair and her eyelashes are white. So let's fix that. So the next thing that we're going to do after we've added our image textures is we're going to go to shader, mix shader, and we're going to stick this between the principled and the material output boxes. Now we're going to drag this BSDF down to the bottom shader, and we're going to go over here back to our first image texture and attach the alpha to the FAC on this mix shader. The next thing we're going to do is go back to add, again to shader, and this time we're going to do a transparent BSDF. You can just leave this at the top or wherever you prefer, and we're going to take the BSDF on this and attach it to the second shader on the mix shader. And now you have successfully finished the first part of getting your textures into Blender. So the next thing that we're going to do is click the Model 5 glass. Again, whatever you have your sim named as, it's just going to say whatever the name is and then glass. So you want to click that, do the same thing again, clicking material properties and then new. So we have the same thing that we had previously. And we're going to go to add, texture, image texture, and we're going to drop two of these again. The same thing as before, attaching color to base color and color to specular. Now this time you can see that our sim's hair has turned black, and we're going to fix that because her hair isn't black. That's not how she looks. We're going to go to open on the first image texture, go to wherever you saved your files, and this time we're going to attach the glass diffuse and open that. And as you can see now, her hair is starting to come together. And on the second one, we're going to attach the glass specular. And so now we have this. So we're going to go up here to add, mix shader again, attaching the BSDF to the bottom shader, the alpha from our first image texture to FAC, and adding another shader, transparent, BSDF, attaching the BSDF on that to the middle shader. Now we have something like this. So what we're going to do is go over here to this bottom right corner where it says blend mode, and we're going to change this to alpha hashed. And now you can see our sim looks the way that she did in game. So once we have that, it's time to move on to the poses. We're going to click on pose, and it's taken a little bit to load. We're going to go up here to the editor type again. We're going to click on non-linear animation and just leave that window open for now. So we're going to come back over to our sim, and as you can see, she has all of these little black dots around her. You can click any one of these, it doesn't matter which one you click, just click it until it turns blue, as you can see here. And then we're going to right click, insert keyframe, and then scroll down to lock rock scale and click on that. And now we have this little orange action here. What we want to do from here is you want to click on the gray drop down little cube here, and it's going to create a track. As you can see, there's already a track here, but we don't want that because there's no pose. So we're going to right click on this and delete. the next thing you want to do is open Sims 4 Studio. If you don't know how to get poses via Sims 4 Studio, the way that you're going to do this is go into your documents, and then Sims 4 Studio has its own mods folder. Any poses that you download that are not trait related, you want to put in the mods folder for Sims 4 Studio if you want to use them in Blender. And I will show you guys that in a second. I'm just going to go over here to my projects, and I already have it locked here in my recent. So as you can see, this is where it goes. Documents, Sims 4 Studio mods. I have a ton of poses and other things in here. But we're just going to click on a pose that we want to use. We'll try these. Once you open the pose, it's going to do something like this. You don't want to touch anything on this part. We're going to go over here to clips. And now you can see all the poses that are here. So what I'm going to do is just pick a random pose that I want to try. I think I'm going to try this one. And we're going to go down here to export. And you can see here it says .blend. You want to keep it on this. Don't click this one. This is going to create a blend file so that you can append it into Blender, which is what we're going to do next. So I'm going to export this. You can name it whatever you want. I just leave it as the number because it's easier for me to remember what pose is what. So I'm going to save this. Okay, so now that our pose has finished, I'm going to go up here to File, Append. Make sure that you're clicked on Pose as well, otherwise it's not going to work properly. So the next thing that you're going to do is click here. We saved this one. Click Append. You're going to go to Action. Double click that so that it opens that folder, and then your pose will be here, and you're going to click on that and click Append. So we're going to go up here to Add and Add Action Strip, and now you're going to see your poses pop up here. So we're going to click our pose, and now we have our pose appended to our sim. So we're going to go up here to viewport shading again and click the very last one, and now you can see that we have some lighting, but it's still very dark. So what we're going to do is click here, and this allows us to move things around. So we have our lighting here. Oops. We have our lighting here that we can move. I usually put it kind of far from the sim because I don't want it to be too bright, but as you can see, it's still pretty bright. So we go over here. This data properties for the object allows you to change the color of the lighting, how strong the light is, how dim the light is. I like to keep my lighting around like 500 to 800, depending on what I'm doing. If I'm taking CC photos, I usually leave it around like 500 to 700. If I'm taking just photos for fun like this, I might play around and make the light really bright or really dark. So I'm gonna leave it about right there. So here we have our sim. You can see it still looks very dull and everything. So two things that I'm going to show you here, completely optional. One of them is you can click here on the world properties. I usually do this for my CC photos. I mess with the background of the world instead of adding an actual background, but I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So if you want to just play around with the world background instead, you can see how I've turned the opacity, I guess, of the background up so it's not super dark anymore. And now the background's just plain white. But I can move this around and I can change it to be whatever color I want. But I'm gonna leave this white. And so we can have this be like this. And I also want to say that messing around with the world property and the background colors is going to affect how your images look. Even if you add a background, it's going to affect how the light bounces off of that background, how light or dark the photo is going to end up being. I'm gonna put this kind of back to where it was, and I'm gonna show you how to add a background and a floor. So we're gonna go up here to add, mesh, and plane. And as you can see, now we have this white little square here on the floor. You can use these arrows to extend it or shrink it. You can turn it, flip it, any way that you want. So you can see that we have a shadow behind her now that we've added a plane, but I want to have a shadow that shows underneath her feet. So I'm going to go here to add, I'm going to go to light and then sun. And now you can see the light popped up. I'm just going to raise that up. And now you can see that there's a shadow underneath her now. If you click on sun over here in the top right corner and then go to the object data properties, you can change the intensity of this light as well. If I put on 700, for example, you can see how bright that is. Okay, we're gonna leave this on 5. But now you can see that there is a shadow below her. And so if you want to have a background, like I was mentioning earlier, instead of the world background, you're gonna go to add again, add mesh, and then plane. And flip this using the red line here. And we're just gonna lift this up. And if I use this blue arrow here, I can make it taller. The red one here will make it wider. And so now we can see her up against a background. Now, what if you want to change the color of the background and you don't want it to be white? You're gonna click on your plane, go here to material properties, create a new property. And here you see we have the base color. So you can change this to whatever color you want it to be. And you can also mess around with the surface. Right now it's on a principled BSDF, but we're going to toggle this to glossy. And now you can see how it's changed how that looks. You can also mess with the roughness, and that will also affect how the background looks. You can also toggle to glass and it'll give it a much different effect as well. So there's tons of things that you can do. So you can also do the same thing for the floor, and pretty much any material or mesh that you add in here you can change and toggle and play with. But I'm going to show you guys a little trick of how to create a mirror in here. What we're gonna do is click our plane. We're gonna set the roughness to 0. So now we have like this little dot here. The next thing that we're going to do is go here to light probe and reflection plane. Okay, I'm gonna use the red line to flip it this way. And now I'm going to extend it to the size of our plane. And you're just gonna sit this kind of over your plane. You can see that it already is starting to reflect. So what you wanna do is click on your plane, go back to the material properties, change the surface to glossy. And now you've created a mirror. That little light that's there is the light that we have. So that little dot, you can move it around, make it higher or lower, and it won't be seen. Another thing that I'm going to add just for fun, I'm going to throw in another light here, but this time I'm going to use a spot. This light is much darker, so I need to increase the power so that it shows up. Spot is a really good light if you want to create like a spotlight effect. I've used this in one of my CC photos, but I think I'm okay with this. So one more thing I want to show you guys before I wrap up this video is how to add text. If you go to add and then text, you'll see here the text pops up. You want to toggle edit mode. You can also toggle edit mode by hitting tab instead of clicking at the top. And now you just want to type in some text, whatever you want it to say. I'm just going to put CO Sims on mine. I'm going to go over here to font and just add a font. You can add fonts that you already have installed or install new ones. I just use this font because I really like it. So now we're going to go to the wrench here and click modifier properties, add modifier, solidify. What this does is it allows us to create things like this. We can make our words stick out more, we can make them thicker, or thinner. I'm going to toggle out of edit mode so that I can move the words just a bit. And you can also add material effects to your words as well. So you can, again, go to your material properties. You can change the color. So now that we have that, the next thing is just to mess with our camera. Our camera is way over here, and if you toggle the camera view right here, you can see that it's not very flattering. So just drag your camera, and you can turn it and flip it, position it any way you want. Naturally, it's positioned this way, but if you want to take pictures like this, you can use the green and blue lines to change the position. And it's really far away, but if you hover over the camera, it'll turn white, and you can just drag to get it to be a lot closer. You can also move the camera up as well if you want to get closer to your sim. But I think I'm happy with how this is. So we're gonna go up here to render and click render image. And it's going to look like this until you orientate it the other way after saving it. But this is our rendered image. What you would do from here is just go to image and save as and name it whatever you'd like. I like to do this with the 100% because this means that we won't lose any of the quality. So I'm just gonna save this to my downloads. It doesn't take very long to save, at least for my PC, but depending on your PC specs, it may take a little bit to save some time. And that is how I make my renders. I don't usually edit them too much. If I do, I just open Photoshop and like sharpen the image and maybe just mess around with the eyes. But other than that, I don't edit my images really. I don't mess with like the hair or anything like that. Typically because I just like how it comes out. So yeah. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that it was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or send me an ask on my Tumblr. All of my socials and things will be in the description box below. And I hope you guys have fun rendering, and I would be happy to see what you guys create. Take care.